on target.
Almost there.
Stay on target.
They're right behind me.
Almost there.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Yakima On Target. I'm your host, Sean Davido, and today I'm joined by Dave Brown, the City of Yakima's Water and Irrigation Manager. Thank you for joining me today, Dave.
Hi.
You were recently given a pretty prestigious award from the State of Washington Department of Health. Can you describe what that award was and how you were nominated for it?
Well, it's excellence in commitment to water.
Right.
It's just you're committed to good, safe drinking water for people, and there's several of those given out in the state each year.
Right.
And usually it's that people in your organization nominate you along with somebody from the state that endorses that, and then it ends up being the award. So the folks in my shop started that nomination, and then some work we did recently that picked up the district engineer to endorse that.
Wonderful. Now, what was the project that got the award?
Well, the two specific ones this time around were the Raybung Water Users Association and Regal Mobile Home Estates. They had contaminated water because they both were on well supplies,
right.
And their water was contaminated with fecal coliform, so they needed some other source of water, and so
that's a serious health issue.
Yeah.
So
we sorted out a way to get the Regal mobile home hooked up. They had been talking to us for about a year. Of course, it's rather expensive to get all that done, and then this just sped it up. So we ended up putting a 3-inch meter and serving those people. There was about 80 units there. Got them safe drinking water, and then Raybung, which is 20 houses, just west of the mobile home park. They had the same contaminated water from their well. And so we were trying to work out with the state how we could get them served, because the state will give free money for consolidating water systems. But going through that process, it was going to be about 3 years. Right. And we said, well, the people need water today, not 3 years from now. Right. So we figured out a way to get them hooked up, and then as water mains are put in that area, then they would switch to the city's main system.
Now, were they drinking bottled water, or how were they getting
well,
their water?
Well, mostly they were drinking bottled water. Okay. Then there's a restaurant, drive-in restaurant there on Fruitvale Boulevard that was part of that system, and they were coming to the water area, getting water out of a fire hydrant into a special tank that was kept it safe for human consumption. Well, that makes it pretty hard to run a restaurant on that. So, and with this, they got on our water, and so they were back to normal and could serve just like they normally would.
Now, you were recently awarded in front of the Yakima City Council. How was that, being nominated and being able to be recognized in front of the City Council? It was a little emotional, it seems like for you.
Well, I always get kind of that way, but
right.
It was nice to have your staff recognize you, and the state recognize what you're doing, and then you kind of thought, well, you know, these kind of things come towards the end of your career.
Right.
Does this mean this is the end of my career? I don't think it is, but it was just kind of the way it worked out.
Now let's talk about your career just a little bit. You've been around for quite a while, 35 years?
Well, I've been with Yakima 35 years. I've been in the water and wastewater business for 47 years.
Right.
I started in 1972 when I joined the Air Force. That was kind of, I made a big mistake when I was there and had to start all over, so I lost being a jet engine mechanic, and they stuck me with water and wastewater, and like most people, what is that?
Right.
Well, it turned out to be a lifelong career.
Right. What do you consider some of your biggest successes?
Well, just keeping the water system working. We've completely rebuilt the water plant in the time I've been here. It was built originally in about 1969, and then over those course of the years, it just kind of got wore out. And just the last big project was just a few years ago, where we completely rebuilt the water plant, changed pumps and chemical addition, and got better safety out there, and modernized it. with our control system. So we're set up for the next round of new water quality rules.
And you have been involved in replacing pipes in town, and they're, I mean, dating back to the beginning of the century, right?
Right. Well, that was a drinking water system. In the irrigation system, we in 1998 we decided to convert the limited improvement districts, 66 of them, into one utility, the irrigation utility.
Right.
And when we did that, then we generated funds to rebuild the systems. So from 1998 through about 2012, we spent close to $17 million and replaced 32 miles of wood-stave pipe. So that saved us over half of the water we used to put in the irrigation system.
Right, and numbers-wise, I remember I did a report on this, billions of gallons. You're talking billions of gallons.
It's billions of gallons. I think in that term in cubic feet per second.
Right.
So we went from 23 cubic feet per second to about 8 or 9.
Right.
So we've cut it more than half.
Wow.
So a really good conservation method. But the big part of that is now our customers have adequate pressure to actually water their lawns. So by having that good pressure and that good service, they actually use less water than they used to when it leaked so much.
Wow.
Because they didn't get very much water, so they watered all day long, every day. Now they watered like they should water, just enough to keep the grass growing.
Right. Now, speaking of water and water conservation, it's predicted to be a short water year. What can we expect as some of the challenges for our area?
Well, the water short year will affect the irrigation industry more than it will the city of Yakima.
Right.
Although the city does have some of that same water that the irrigation districts have that's called proratable.
Right.
That means when there's a drought, you don't get all of that water. Whereas like Sunnyside Irrigation District, they have senior water rights. They get all of their water.
Right.
But like Kittitas Reclamation District or Rosa, they get a certain percentage.
Right.
Well, in the summer, we have some of that water too. So we can get prorated, and we'll be prorated to 75% of our water this year in the summer. We have some senior water rights, but that's not near enough to make it all up. So,
now, conservation. Conservation adds to that, right? We need to be conserving.
We can conserve in the city, but when we conserve in the city, it's important that we do that and have an adequate supply of water. But the amount of water we can conserve in 1 year, in the irrigation district can conserve in 1 day.
Right.
That's the difference in scope of amount of water used.
Right.
But we've rebuilt the irrigation system. We've installed some conservation measures in the city. We've put in a couple low water use gardens to try to demonstrate how you can do that.
Right.
We keep an eye on conservation. That industries are because of water rates are conserving water, but we also do audits and we help people with water conservation where we can. So we do have an adequate supply of water. Probably the biggest thing we've done is put aquifer storage and recovery in.
Right.
That's where we take water in the winter when there's an excess supply, and there will be even during climate change. There'll be more rainwater than snow. So we'll have water we can put in the ground and store where we have deep wells now.
Right.
So we'll store that water there, and then in times of water short years, then we can pump that water out of the ground and supplement. Even if we are prorated water, we still have adequate water. That water won't be prorated because we put it in the ground when it wasn't prorated. Right. So we'd be able to use all of that.
Right. Let's talk about the future. You say you're at the end of your career, but you've seen a lot of change, I'm guessing, over the years in water management. What do you see in the future for water management?
Well, I think water quality rules will change to some degree and be a little bit better. You know, America has some of the safest water in the world, but we're always striving to do better to make sure we have an adequate, safe water and adequate supply and for drinking, watering our lawns and gardens, and firefighting.
Right.
So we have some big mandates for water. And then as we move into climate change in the future, it'll get hotter in the summer and drier, probably wetter in the winter. So how do we maximize that use of water? And we already talked about aquifer storage and recovery is one way, but we'll do further conservation measures. Right. We're doing another it's not really a low water use garden, but we're taking one of the stormwater swales that's full of grass and a real water hog and changing that to some small amounts of planting and putting rock in there as another way to demonstrate how we can do that. And if you drive around town, you'll look, a lot of the businesses are already doing that. Especially hog pack development has been kind of leading that charge in doing a lot of, we called it xeriscape before, but it's really xeriscape really kind of means rocks and cactus, but it's really low water use gardens. And another way we're trying to take care of water in our valley is the Yakima Basin Integrated Plan. And that's a big plan that runs from the Tri-Cities all the way up to Kittitas County. And we're trying to figure out how we can maximize that water use when we do have climate change or we have water short years. So we know we're going to have a lot of water in the winter, and it used to be snow, so that was like a sixth reservoir up there that produced water into June and July. Well, that probably will go away and we'll have all rain. Well, we got to have some place to store that water then. So we're talking about a couple reservoirs of ways we can do things. In that program is water conservation, piping the irrigation ditches and canals, and keeping that water in the system and being able to use it. So the integrated plan is one of the ways our whole valley and the cities in our valley are part of that to make sure we have an adequate water supply going to the future.
All right, Dave, anything else you want to talk about?
Nope, that should do it.
All right, congratulations again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for joining us on Yakima On Target. For information about the City of Yakima Water and Irrigation Division, visit www.yakimawa.gov/services/water-irrigation or call 575-6154 or email Dave Brown at dave.brown@yakimawa.gov.
Stay on target.
Almost there.
Stay on target.
Right behind me. Almost there.
For information on Yakima On Target or other programs produced at the Yakima Public Affairs Channel, call 509-575-6092.